I was raised by a single mother who taught us that to never turn anyone away, regardless whether you have something in your home to feed them or not. Never look down on them. Always be there to support anyone who needs help. Um, and if anyone hurts you, don't pay back. You know.
Welcome to Dealing Hope. This episode features Pastor Apii Inukiha'angana, and she is the pastor for the Avarua Church in Rarotonga in the beautiful Cook Islands. This interview was recorded in the Cook Islands at the Seventh-day Adventist Church Mission Office in Paparo. And I know that as you listen to her story, you'll be intrigued of a journey that has taken her through a prior career and then training for ministry, not knowing what was going to happen after that because she didn't receive a call immediately, and so returned back to her former life as a nurse, and then was called to the Cook Islands, where she is now serving. And so I know that you'll be blessed by her insights, but especially her life story so far and what God is doing to Pastor Apii. So looking forward to you joining in with that. But before we do, just let me take you on a quick around the union catch up for this week. Just caught up with Pastor Roger, our mission president for the French Polynesia mission, and is telling me that just in a couple of days' time, all the pastors will be coming together for a gathering in Pikver, there above the beautiful harbour in Papaete, and ask that you keep them in your prayers as they meet for encouragement, refreshment, and training. Also caught up with Pastor Eric, who's the president for the Cook Islands, and they are working through the ministry development program, looking forward to having that presented for the development of their pastors and working on that and hoping to see that come through to further strengthen the team at this time. And of course, you will be meeting one of the pastors, Pastor Apii Inukiha'angana, in the Dealing Hope conversation today. Let me just take you to North New Zealand, where I had the opportunity to sit with Pastor Bob Larson, the president, with Rosalie McFarlane, the secretary, general secretary, Kia Boutros, the treasurer this week, and they are working away at strengthening the plan going forward. God has placed a vision on their hearts of being able to go together, to connect, to grow, and to multiply. And so as they work with their executive committee, their leadership team, with pastors and churches, they're praying that God will further strengthen this plan that they are working on. Let me just take you to, I hope you saw the pictures from New Caledonia last week, and I'll be able to give you another catch up from New Caledonia, but make sure you don't miss out on the news there. If you don't receive my communique, my weekly newsletter that I send out every Thursday, and if you don't receive that, feel free to just contact me to let me know that you would like to receive that, so you're up to date with everything that's taking place. Just one more piece that I wanted to share with you today was able to sit today with Pastor Ben Martin, the president for South New Zealand, and Pastor Bob Larson, the president for North New Zealand, together with Pastor Victor Kulakov, who many of you know. Pastor Victor and I, in the work that we do with churches and pastors, were seeking advice from Pastor Ben and Pastor Bob on how we as an Adventist church in New Zealand, this will be coming later to our missions and in fact in other parts of the church in the South Pacific, how can we report to the government who is asking us as a charity, as a church, for reporting not only what we are doing, but the impact of what we're doing. So we're working on that because that's a really important question that the government is asking. Well, it's great that you're here. It's great that you're doing what you're doing. By the way, what are you doing? And how is that helping the country to be a better country? How is it helping the people of the country? How is it contributing to society in New Zealand? So we're working on that. Please pray for that. And if you have any thoughts or feedback on that particular subject, know that the Adventist Church, beginning next year, 2023, in New Zealand, will be required by the government, by law, to reporting on the outputs, yes, what you're doing, but further than that, what is the outcomes of, what are the benefits, what is the impact of what you're doing. So just a little update there on a couple of things that are happening around the New Zealand Pacific Union this particular week. But let me take you now to this conversation that I had recently with Pastor Apii, Inukiha'angana, and I know that you will be blessed by that conversation. Thank you again for joining Dealing Hope. Apii, welcome to Dealing Hope. So good to have you with me today. And I'm like really happy because not only am I going to catch up with you about your story, but we're in this beautiful setting of the Cook Islands here in Titikavaka at the mission office. I think back to when I first met you in Auckland, and I can't remember exactly when, but it's just that you disappeared, but then reappeared when I went to Avondale College to do interviews for pastoral students who are graduating from Avondale College University now, and there you were.
Yeah.
So tell me about that story. How did you end up at Avondale, trained to be a pastor, ready to start ministry as a pastor for the Seventh-day Adventist Church?
First of all, thank you for this invitation to join you here.
Very welcome.
I'm quite privileged to be part of this program. Yes, it was 2011 in November when you were invited to come and dedicate the new hall that Otara had completed,
Okay, yes.
and the renovation of the church. At the same time, our pastor at the time had included the ordination of 2 new women elders.
Elders, yes.
It was Emma Tawa
Yes,
and myself.
you and Emma.
Yeah, so I was so privileged to see all of you from the office, from the conference. It was you, B. Timothy, and or other ministers that came that day.
Yes.
And just to have you all there during the ordination, I felt privileged. Even though you might have come for a different reason, I think both Emma and I were privileged to have all of you there to be part of our ordination.
It was a great day.
It was a great day.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there was something that always remained with me. It was as everybody was coming to welcome us to eldership, as everybody was walking past us to shake our hand and welcome us. There was just 2 words that you gave to me. You whispered to me as you went past. You said, "Be patient." So that stayed with me for all that time. And yes, and then we met up again in 2017 at Avondale College, just before I graduated from ministry and theology.
Yes.
Yeah. So how did I get there? Really, as a young child, when I first heard mission stories in Aitutaki in I say late 60s to 70s, early 70s, it inspired me to hope one day to be a missionary.
Okay.
Just hearing the wonderful stories of how many went through challenges, despite that they never gave up on serving God, and how God blessed their life. But then that changed when we migrated to New Zealand. Our lifestyle changed, but it was always at the back of my head. And while I was at our church in Otara, I always had a desire to learn how to give Bible study.
Okay.
Yeah, and I felt that we weren't given any privilege. No one was training us. That remained with me. And in 2013, my husband and I decided, well, the children are grown, we will move to Australia and see what life has to offer there. While there, I didn't get any job as a nurse because...
So nursing is your background?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a registered nurse from New Zealand and South Auckland, where I worked in a lot of areas. I like to work as a casual nurse. That way I can learn all skills from different areas.
Okay.
So in the community, in the hospital.
And so hoping that in Australia that would be an opportunity to get into working there and whatever lay ahead.
It was more for our future. Our plan was to go there, save up, and come back home. Build a home and come back home. But then when we got there, it wasn't what we had hoped for. I tried looking for work for nearly 4 months.
Wow.
And then I just happened to see the record, and always at the back of the record there was advertising Avondale College.
Yes.
And I picked it up. On the spur of the moment, I saw it, and there's something I think that was just sitting there all the time, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll send my application in to do theology. And I got
a defining moment.
I just got my response straight away. I didn't tell my husband.
Okay.
And they said,
that really is special.
That was in June, and got the response the same week saying start in July, and I'm like, oh. So I waited another week to tell my husband. I didn't expect that. So that's how it happened, and I requested that.
Sometimes the Lord, you wait for the Lord to move, and it seems like forever, and then sometimes
it just happened just like that. And Pastor Eddie, after that came through, and I discussed it with my husband, and he was all for it. My casual job came along for nursing. So I thought, that's a bit weird.
Wow.
Yeah. But then, because...
Big choice time, big decision.
Big choice, but then at the same time, I thought, okay, since I'm going to start the following year, because I've requested if I can start the following year, so we can save up for fees and anything that we need. And miraculous ways that God performed in our life, I was able to save us so much, because the earning there was more than New Zealand on a casual rate, that I could pay the first term, even the second term off, when we finally left in January. And then only to get there, we didn't have accommodation, but my sister-in-law had given a contact of somebody. We went to search for their place, which was about half an hour away. We don't know the people. It's just a contact of my sister-in-law. We walked in and they welcomed us, and they told us to stay with them and for free. Yeah, that's how amazing God is. And we've had so many other blessings from God throughout the whole time. Even during the challenging time, He was always there. If it's not through a huge miracle, it's through people that were supporting us. So it's been a wonderful, love the learning, wanted more and more. I just yearned to know more and more about God, and while we were studying at Avondale. So that's how
here you are. You've done your study, you've done your time, you're prepared now to get out into pastoral ministry somewhere, wherever the Lord leads. And that doesn't happen.
No.
An opportunity, a call doesn't come through. What happened?
Well, I did get an offer for a casual chaplain role at the Sands.
Okay.
Because I did a bit of practical there.
The Sand is...
Now, hospital.
Okay,
Sydney
the Adventist Hospital.
Yeah. So I did a few weeks there until they had their staff return back to work, and that was it. And then I went to support Pastor Moore, Talai Moore, at one of his church plants.
Yes, I know Pastor Moore.
Yeah, and I stayed there with him for a while until the calling from family in Brisbane said, hurry up and go back up here. We didn't really want to go. We were happy where we were, but in the end we did go.
Yes.
And that's when things slowed down, and I just wandered. But I continued nursing and just carry on with my role. But I wasn't stressed about it.
So you're in that waiting room. You're in this period in between So you were saying you weren't stressed about it?
No.
What do you mean by that? And what were you thinking, well, ministry is over for you in terms of pastoral work, or what were you thinking?
Well, I was thinking that God will provide in this time if it's God's plan.
Yes.
So while I was waiting, I was getting myself busy in doing a community service, like providing, pre-love clothing and that.
Yes.
We would run it at the church.
Mm-hmm.
I was just trying to keep myself busy, should any opportunity come up. At the same time, people always say they heard the calling,
Yes.
right? Mine was totally opposite. It was a question.
Hey.
Mine was,
Okay.
do you want to serve me?
Okay. Okay.
It happened in my time during Avondale, and it happened while I was after graduation in Brisbane. It was always, do you want to serve me? And I'm always saying yes. And then I didn't hear anything for quite a while, 2018 till 2020 in February. It was silent for quite a while. And then I heard that call in February. Do you still want to serve me? And I said, yes, Lord, you know I want to serve you. Then the following week, the call came to come here.
I find that unique, and also knowing there's a possibility that it would be somebody else's experience where they're expecting the Lord to say, hey, come here, or I'm calling you to this place. For you, it was a question.
It was a question.
Yeah,
I
do you
heard it
want
a
to
few
serve?
times when I was in Avondale. It was the question, do you want to serve me? You know, as I was letterboxing one day, and I would be praying as I go for each home as I was letterboxing, and then sometimes I feel tired, and God said, do you want to serve me? And I will continue to do it. Yeah.
And so here you are being asked again.
Yes. It's like, are you genuine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you really want to serve me? Are you sure you want to serve me? Kind of like that. Yeah.
So here you are in the Cook Islands. You've been here since. Well, tell me, when did you arrive? When?
We arrived in June, the end of June, because
What
of the
year
COVID.
was that?
2020.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
2020, and it was quiet. The whole place was quiet, but it was really great to be able to be outdoor and all that. It was a lot of questions by some people. Why now? Why at your age?
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you have any answers to those questions?
I see God use everybody at any age.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Age is just a number. Yeah.
So where are you serving? What are you doing in your ministry here in Rarotonga?
I'm serving the Awaroa Seventh-day Adventist Church, which is based in the main town of Rarotonga, and I'm having an awesome time there.
Yeah.
I decided that with all these questions, I just need to keep my head down and do what I'm supposed to be here, and that's my love for wanting to share God to others, wanting them to know what an awesome God He is. So I did that.
Yes.
And I always pray and keep praying, and God sent me the people. He sent people that requested for baptism. And it wasn't me. I had nothing to do with it. It's just when they knew that I was running Bible baptismal study, then they started coming. And then when they hear the appeal, that's when they made their decision to stand for God. And also what I did was, when I hear stories of people that had Bible study was never completed, I would go to their home and apologize. Just 5 minutes. I just asked them for 5 minutes of their time. And then I'll say, I've come on behalf of the church to apologize to you for not completing your Bible study, and to say, should you ever want to restart it, I'm here.
Yes.
I'm here for you. And just say a little prayer, and then I go home.
Yes.
And that's how it continued.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. And when I see people that are non-Cook Islanders in the church,
Yes.
I would go and sit with them and get to know them.
Yes.
I just sort of introduced myself to everybody while I was there.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's been an amazing journey to see the transformation in people that I Bible study with. really amazed to see them change from the way they used to be to way that you can see a glow in them now.
Yes.
That God is seen in them.
You always wanted to know how to give Bible studies. A seed that was planted in your heart a long time ago. Here you are now. You've been trained. You've been carrying out that passion that you have, and you've seen the transformation that's bringing to people's lives. When it comes to the Bible study process and the reflection on what you said earlier on, that there was no one training you, what are your thoughts now that you're in the position now to go about giving Bible studies but also training? Where's that with you at this stage?
Well, what I have been doing with the candidates was to, while I'm Bible studying with them, I'm encouraging them to do the same for people they know that I need it. So I would give them the lesson or questionnaires before the homework before they go home, provide them a clear file folder, and then when they come back, I'll give them a questionnaire and we go through it together. And I try and make it relevant to this time.
Yes.
And then at the same time, I encourage them, if you have a desire later on to do Bible study for others, you've got the material right now. And then they will mention somebody. Throughout these study, I've heard some of them say, we're trying to run one with this friend. You know, from the candidates after their baptism. We've got this special friend that we're praying for that we will be using the study with. One young lady is now doing that with her boyfriend because he was interested to know why we worship on Sabbath. So the material I had given her, she's using it
to give a Bible study.
Bible study with them. When she's stuck, she comes to me and says, Pastor, you know that one, the lesson you gave me? I didn't quite know how to explain it. Do you have any other material? So I would give it to her.
Okay.
Yeah. And the same thing with 3 ladies that I Bible study with. They're praying for one special friend and they're sharing it slowly with her. So that's how I've been doing my...
It's very organic. It's very much this person you start with, you plant a seed, and then you just continue to extend that seed into connecting with others. There's something else I noticed with you, and from what I pick up from people of your church that I've met, and then also being at your church yesterday, is your love for people.
Yeah,
there's a real obvious connection that you have with people, and just seeing you interact with people, spending time with them there after church, you really have that. Where does that come from, and how do you keep that alive?
Well, it's actually from my upbringing. I was raised by a single mother who taught us that to never turn anyone away, regardless whether you have something in your home to feed them or not. Never look down on them. Always be there to support anyone who needs help. And if anyone hurts you, don't pay back. You know, for evil, but do it with goodness, and then that way you will win them over. So she's taught us a lot. Just my brother and I. She was a single mother. She loved God, but she wasn't a person. She was more like in the background, a prayerful woman. And her way of giving, being hospitable and being friendly to people, had taught me to be like that. And I love being like that. It's a wonderful feeling to make others know that they are cared for and loved for. You know, if you like that, know that you're being cared for and loved for, then you'll be able to do the same for others. Yeah, I love it. That's so true. I
can really see that.
Because before, some would think that I was just trying to butter them up or anything. So I've had to explain, I'm sorry, this is actually my gift that God has given me, is that I have a love for others, regardless whether they're in the lowest or the highest status, or they've been through a challenge that they got themselves into. I don't look at that. I look at how precious they are, not only to God, but to us.
Let me switch up a little here and move to you as the pastor who has the responsibility of bringing some organization to the church and just those structures and the framework that helps a church be organized so that they can be moving forward. What's been your approach? If I were to just look at the worship service yesterday, and there's a way where I noticed there was just a flow throughout the service. There didn't seem to be segments as such. It just seemed like everything flowed through in the way you had people singing at the front and leading, but they led and just facilitated a very natural progression through the service. Now that's just the service. I know the service is not everything about the church, but I wondered whether that reflected some of the approach that you take to ministry and what you're trying to do at your church. Could you just fill us in there with anything you may have in that regard?
To be honest, Pastor, when I went to that church, I had plans on how we can run the church. But when I got there, I had to hold my plans aside and listen to them, and listen to how they ran church. So that's how it went. I didn't go and say, do this, do that. I let them, because they're leaders.
Yes.
I thought they knew what they were doing. I didn't interfere with the way they were doing things unless I thought, there was something I think they should consider. Then I would step in and say, would you mind considering doing it this way?
Yes.
So the way it would flow, that's their way of running church. It's only now and then if I think, wait, we need to have a season of prayer like this, something that's not going well for the community that really needs prayer, then I will add that in. Or if we have special, like the God's Care community service that we need support, allows if personal ministry could include that during their time. So I've had to hold mine because
I like what you're saying.
Because
you went in with your plan and then realised no, they've released these leaders and empower them. And I know that's an overused word, but allow them. But you bring in guidance and inclusion of other aspects that you think may be important, like the way you want to feature prayer.
So. I didn't want to remove any, take over each role. I knew that they were capable of leading, so all I did was support them. I'm always there supporting every program, and if there's anything I think they should reconsider, that's how I say it. So every time we have a meeting, I would say, okay, we're having this, how do you normally do it? Or else they'll come to me and say, oh, Pastor, we're having this, what would you like to do? And I'm now say, how do you normally do it? So I put it back into their hand and give them the power to do it in their hand. If they say this is how we normally do it, and then I say, okay, we'll go with your way. If it works, we'll go with your way.
And if not, we can work to improve it.
One thing that I initiated, if you heard from the report, was the God's Care community service. Because normally here they just do like a once-a-year stint. And I thought I'll bring what we've been doing in Australia with the food pantry and introduce that, but instead of just food, including the clothing, whatever they had.
So extend that and build it into the life and the ministry life of the church. And the
ministry life to reach out to the community. At first they were hesitant because it's not something that they normally do, and they only do it once a year, and they just go to people they know that are in need. So I asked if we could just trial it. And we trialed it, and they were happy with it. So we ran it for 5 quarters. The first one in the last quarter of 2020, and then the whole 3 or 4 quarters last year.
21.
And then the last one we held, people were invited to come to our praise service, and I think it was about 3 of them that came and stayed with us for lunch after that. Because I did say to them, It takes time to win people. So if we continue to do this, it will build a rapport with our community, and then it will help them come more onto the church ground. And it's not just for trying to win them, it's just to show them that we are here, we care and love for our community.
There's an authentic relationship you want to build with them.
Yeah.
Pastor Apii, thank you so much for everything you've shared today. In wrapping up, what would you say to, number one, a young person, or anybody who, say like yourself even, who at an older stage in life feels the call to ministry? So what would you say to that person? And then I'll come to my next question.
I would say if it's your passion just to want to serve our amazing God, go for it.
Yes.
Go with God. Don't go on your own, because you can't do it on your own. You must go with God, and He must be the center of your heart and mind and very soul, and
Amen.
everything in your home. If you think you want to go because you have a desire but not have God in there, it won't work.
No.
Yeah, I did it because I absolutely love our God. I've seen Him in my life ever since as a child.
Amen.
He's amazing.
Amen.
Yeah,
Amen.
absolutely. I mean, sometimes our words are not enough to describe how amazing our God is.
So true. So my second question then is, what would you say to a leader who is starting out, like yourself? You're starting out in this early stage, and it's not because you're a new leader, you're an experienced leader, but in this context of a new role as a pastor, what would you say from what you have seen so far in your journey?
Well, I believe that when you come into a new role, like for church and that, be humble, be patient, and work with your church leaders. Don't work against them. Work with them and wait patiently with them, and God will open up the door for you. Once you win their rapport, the windows will be open up for you to do more and more for God. Yeah.
Apii, you really have seen already some very early fruit from what God has been doing through you. I wish you God's peace and blessings and much strength, that even more will be done as you continue to open yourself up to Him. So thank you very much for joining me and giving hope to the leaders who join in this podcast every week. So God bless. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What a great testimony from Pastor Apii Inukiha'angana of the way God has led in her life to this point. Goes through to train to be a pastor. It doesn't happen immediately, but in God's time, she is now serving in the Cook Islands. I also noticed there, and I hope you picked up, how she is now the person who is giving Bible studies, where she was hoping as a church member many years ago for someone to teach her. And now she's been able to move to that place where she did learn. She is now the one discipling others to share Jesus with their community, with their contacts, their friends and family. I also appreciate how she listens and wants to hear what the church members have to say and recognize and honor them as leaders. And so I pray that that has given you hope today. That surely has given me hope, and ask that you pray for Pastor Apii and all of our pastors, our churches, the schools, and our principals in the Cook Islands. I know that they would surely appreciate your prayers. So thank you again for joining with Dealing Hope. Catch up on past episodes there on YouTube or on your podcast platform, Apple or Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to join with us again as we bring to you other conversations, many more conversations, where we want to give you hope as you lead in these difficult times.